Oh, hey guys.
Well, it's Friday the 13th, but since it's December, it really wouldn't feel right telling you a summer camp story. So here's a Christmas-themed horror story called Black Christmas.
Up in the frat house, click, click, click. You slip me a roofie and then you're
So I think we're all good. All right, let's go.
So we meet Lindsay, who's walking home from the library at Hawthorne College, in the cold, at night. All of her sorority sisters are celebrating Christmas, but for some reason, she decided to walk all the way to her grandma's house instead of celebrating with them and asking for a ride.
As your designated big sister, it's my job to take care of you.
She starts getting creeped out when some dude starts walking behind her. At the same time, she's getting weird messages on her phone. So she's prepared to use her keys as a weapon, and bravely turns around to fight the guy that she's not even sure is doing this shit.
I need more than feeling.
But when she turns, he's already crossing the street, probably because he's a nice guy and figured that he was freaking her out.
Not all men are rapists!
And when she turns back, there's someone wearing a cloak and a mask that starts chasing her.
Diane!
She goes to the nearest house with the lights on, but they won't open the door. And when she turns back around, he's gone. Once she starts to leave, he pops back up and makes her fuck up their snowman. But this gives her a weapon, so he fucks off again. She runs to their neighbor's door that does open, but inside is the cloak dude. And instead of using her stick to keep him back, she stupidly stays within arm's length. So he bitch slaps her, and instead of fighting him off, she makes a pretty snow angel, and then he stabs her with an icicle, and she dies.
It was terribly nice of her to offer herself to me.
The next morning at the Mu Kappa Epsilon sorority house, this chick Riley's sleep is interrupted by two pussies. First, a cat that crawls all over her, and then her friend, who needs help with something that she should have been able to find in any sorority bathroom. She plugs up the problem easily, and somehow cleanly, but as soon as she leaves, Riley's little sister Helena comes in, complaining that Riley won't take her spot in the talent show tonight. Riley gives her some bullshit about a magic comb that she gives to her, and then walks to campus. But on the way, she passes the house that Lindsay was attacked at last night, and the kids are rebuilding the snowman that she destroyed. So if Lindsay would have just doubled back the other way, she could have made it to a sorority house where someone would have surely been awake, even at the extremely late hour of 10 o'clock.
Why are you up?
Because I got some important shit going on here.
In literature class, the professor's giving a lecture, defending his only teaching stories by white guys, and bitching about some of the students trying to get him fired.
American education is in the shitter.
See, this chick Kris asked about changing the curriculum, and he freaked the fuck out, when he could have easily just said, I'll look into it for next year, and then not done anything because he's probably tenured. So now she wants to get him fired.
I'm gonna get you fired! Hope you enjoy unemployment, dickweed!
And earlier this year, she got the college to take down the founder's bust because he was a piece of shit. But the school is still named after him, so I don't really get what that does, or why somebody who hates him so much would go to that school. But since she won that round, she's harassing her sisters to sign this petition. They don't want to do it, but when this dude Landon, who has a crush on Riley, does, Marty and Riley break down and sign. Then this Delta douche comes in and taunts Riley about being attacked by his brother Brian.
He's coming up from DC to meet the new pledges.
Ask me about my wiener!
And even though the talent show's at that fraternity house, Riley still wants to go with them tonight.
This is the biggest party of the year, guys!
There, Kris, Marty, and Jesse are ready, but Helena's missing, so Riley goes to look for her. She comes across the brothers initiating some pledges. In a room alone, at a party they're throwing, at the wrong time of year.
This is the beginning of winter break when traditionally no one cares about anything.
But they're doing it right in front of Hawthorne's bust that's crying black goo, and one of them says that if they break it, it's all over, which will certainly not come back later.
And now they can junk off onto it, and no one has to see it.
But after seeing that they're just putting the black goo on their foreheads, she's like, weird, and moves on.
That's not very important.
As a matter of fact, it is.
That's why I said it.
She finds Helena drunk with that douchebag from the coffee shop, and he's trying to bang her, so she interrupts. But you gotta wonder why he wouldn't be with his brothers initiating the new pledges. After all, chapter rituals are the epitome of a bros before hoes moment.
It's for the cause.
Riley sends Helena home, but has her change first, and takes her performing outfit back to the other girls. And since this is the room they were getting ready in, you would think that's where her clothes would be. Then, Riley's surprised that they want her to perform in her place when she brings the extra costume back.
What did you expect?
She starts to freak the fuck out on stage because the ex-president of the fraternity is there, and he's the guy who attacked her 3 years ago. But she works up the courage to sing, and their song is not complimentary. At all.
I didn't lead you on for goodness sake. I couldn't have 'cause I wasn't awake.
So after they piss all these dudes off, they leave, and that dude Landon follows them. He's there doing the sound for the talent show, but leaves his equipment behind to hang out with them. And while they're out, Helen is alone in the sorority house packing to go home tomorrow. But she gets messages from the college founder like Lindsay did, so she stupidly checks the hall for the person sending her digital messages.
I am such an idiot.
But then the dude in the cloak pops up behind her.
And she dies.
Well, we don't get to find out because we just go back to Riley the next morning, who finds black goo on Fran's cat's paw. She thinks it's weird, but everyone blows her off, and they go tree shopping with Marty's boyfriend Nate. But Fran stayed behind because she's going to the train station, and while she's saying goodbye to her cat, Cloak Dude pops out and strangles her with Christmas lights, and she dies.
It seems too easy.
While getting their tree, Riley gets Hawthorne messages.
Just ignore them. They are boys with heavy testicles. Did he threaten you?
She also gets a call from Helen's mom, who's worried because she didn't come home on time.
'Cause she's dead.
Well, that's what Riley thinks, but everyone else just blows her off. So she goes to campus security, who also blows her off, but is willing to take her to the fraternity house to see if they're willing to admit to having Helena tied up or some shit. But he leaves when nobody answers, and she stays behind and starts looking in the windows. She calls Helena's number, hoping to hear her phone ring, but Professor Gelson catches her. But because he startled her, she knocks a bunch of papers out of his hands. And when she picks them up, she sees a weird list with a bunch of chicks' names on it.
I have no nefarious plot.
She tells him that she was looking for a comb, which you would definitely be able to see by staring at a window, instead of saying, I was hoping my friend Helena left her phone here last night because no one's been able to reach her. So he offers to help and grabs a hide key right in front of her and invites her in.
There are no covert meetings in hidden rooms where men discuss how to bury women.
Also tells her about the video Kris put online, which names the ex-president as a rapist and reminds her that he could sue. So she freaks out and goes home to yell at Kris. When they start yelling, Jessie fucks off to the attic because she doesn't like conflict, and then is attacked by Cloak Dude.
Don't you fear, El Zorro is here.
Meanwhile, the other girls are arguing because Marty and Riley are freaked out by the threatening messages they've been getting, but Kris wants to double down and go after the Delta guys more. Then Nate jumps in, defending the guys sending threatening messages, so Marty kicks him out. But as soon as he leaves, they're attacked by Cloak Dude with a bow and arrow.
I want to make more of a statement.
He hits Marty in the leg, and they run upstairs instead of trying to go out the back, or attacking him as he reloads. But they make it to a storage closet that locks, where they realize they don't have their phones. Kris takes care of Marty's leg, while Riley goes down to find a phone. But as soon as she leaves, Marty and Kris realize Cloak Dude could find Jessie. So Kris goes to look for her, and finds her body.
Christmas is a time for looking sexy.
While Riley's hiding from Cloak Dude, Nate comes back to apologize to Marty. She's trying to tell him about Cloak Dude when he starts getting sharp pains in his head. But then he gets all uber alpha male and throws his keys on the floor and grabs the hatchet they just left lying there on the floor next to the tree, because apparently they cut it down themselves at a commercial tree lot. But he starts yelling for Cloak Dude to fight him and then takes an arrow to the face and he dies.
Of course, that's what I'm here for.
Cloak Dude then grabs Riley and instead of stabbing her with an arrow, he just cuts her face.
What lovely skin you've got.
And she puts up no resistance at all. Until he's distracted by a Santa decoration, at which point she goes for the hatchet. He grabs her leg so she can't get it, so she grabs Nate's keys and stabs him in the throat, and he dies.
He's super dead.
Marty and Kris get downstairs, and just as they start to relax, another Cloak Dude shows up.
Ask me about my winner!
So they run, but the Cloak Dude beats them to the front door because they took the long way.
Do me a favor, ask me about my wiener really quickly.
But if they're working together, why didn't they attack them together?
Shut up. He had to wait outside to make a dramatic entrance, okay? But since Marty has the hatchet that she picked up when the second Cloak Dude rudely interrupted her crying over her boyfriend's dead body, she moves towards the Cloak Dude, so he immediately grabs a hatchet from her and stabs her in the stomach.
Hey, ask me about my wiener!
She holds him back as Riley and Kris run away, but then only Kris grabs one of their many kitchen knives as they hide behind the kitchen island together.
Guys, my brothers could be watching me right now. Just ask me about my wiener, please.
They think he's moved to another room and try to sneak out of the kitchen, but he pulled a sneaky and was on top of the island and jumps on Kris. He slams her around and starts to strangle her, while Riley looks around her own kitchen, wondering what she could use as a weapon. She finally realizes she can use the carving fork that's sticking out of the hand that's right in front of her. And she stabs him in the back, and Kris stabs him in the head, and he dies.
Do you know why you're dressed like this?
Because it's required for brotherhood.
Riley and Kris notice that they're covered in black goo and not blood. Then Riley takes off the guy's mask, and it turns out to be the pledge she saw the night before.
I know I do!
Kris goes to get Nate's keys out of Arrow Cloak Dude's neck when another Cloak Dude makes a dramatic entrance.
This is where the fun begins.
Kris fights him, and just as he tries to strangle her, Riley attacks him with a plastic bag, because I guess they only had 2 knives in the kitchen or something.
I can't breathe.
But this works, and Kris gets the keys, and they get to the car. But then Cloak Dude comes at him with the bow and arrow.
We got him, R2.
Why didn't she kill him?
Why do you think?
Because the final girl can't kill someone if there's a chance to run away. Even if it's obvious, the person's still going to try to kill him once they get up.
Exactly. But lucky for them, this one isn't a very good shot, and they drive away.
It's unfair.
Kris wants to go to the cops, but Riley has another idea. Since the cloak dudes are pledges from Delta, she wants Kris to distract any murderous assholes in the house so she can go in and break the bust. But Kris doesn't like this plan. I don't know why.
Something I noticed about fishing, it never works out so well for the bait.
But Riley doesn't trust the cops because they didn't take her assault seriously.
No, it's not a matter of not believing you. It's just...
Excuse me?
Well, I think it is a matter of not believing you.
But cops notoriously don't put a bunch of resources into those. Now, a murder, every cop wants to solve a murder. They'll make him sound like a total badass. And when you factor in some crazy cult type shit murder, they'll be able to write a book and retire.
That's pretty juicy stuff.
Plus, the guys that were killed were wearing fucking costumes in their sorority house. I mean, most people would believe them when they claim self-defense. Especially after they find all the dead chicks, too.
You ladies play your cards right, you just might get to meet the whole gang.
But Riley wants to go to the Delta house, so Kris lets her go on her own, only armed with a plastic snow shovel. On the way, she runs into Landon, who's walking to their house since they invited him to dinner. He wants to help her, even though she looks fucking crazy, and he agrees to be the distraction.
Bother most people.
Down the road, Kris, who's driving very slowly for someone who's trying to get help after being attacked by multiple people, sees campus security outside of another sorority house. Earlier, the lazy cop was called out and walked in on the girl stabbing a cloak dude. Then he's stabbed in the back by another cloak dude who was waiting outside to make a dramatic entrance.
Can I please have your attention?
So 4 girls get in her car and tell her that 3 other sororities are being attacked too. Not sure how they got that information.
I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
But bow and arrow cloak dude's behind them, and they're freaking the fuck out trying to get her to drive away. But she throws it in reverse.
Whoa, wait.
Back at the Delta house, Riley uses the hide key to let Landon in. He sees that they broke his mixer, so maybe he shouldn't have left it with a bunch of pissed off drunk guys. So he throws a baby fit until a bunch of guys in cloaks come out. And now that Riley thinks that they'll all be distracted beating the shit out of Landon, she sneaks back into the bus room. She's about to get to it when she hears Helena calling for help. So she stupidly walks away from the item she thinks is possessing the fraternity guys to go find her.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
She finds Helena tied up, but it turns out she was in on it and was just a distraction so they could grab Riley.
Why would they have her tied up for Riley to find? They expected to kill Riley at the sorority house.
I don't know. Maybe the bus gives him psychic powers or some shit.
It was like black magic or sorcery or something.
So she wakes up to see them initiating Landon. Professor Gelson seems to be in charge of it and explains that the college founder, Calvin Hawthorne, who established the college in 1819 and then somehow graduated in 1869, thought, these bitches are getting out of line. I mean, some of them even think they should be able to vote.
What's wrong with saying, hey, nice tits? When did that go out the window?
So he made some magical bullshit to help guys put them in their place.
I said bow, bitch.
And placed it inside of his bust for some reason, which they would have never have found if Kris hadn't petitioned to get the bust removed.
If anything, it's kind of your fault.
Did you just think?
I take that back.
So these guys are going to help all men take back their superior alpha male power by using the magical goo to turn them into mindless murdering zombies.
So instead of taking years of painfully coming to grips with reality, you change reality. Reality comes to you.
How would they figure out it was magic?
Well, since they're fraternity guys, my guess is when somebody passed out, they used the goo to draw a dick on their forehead, and when they woke up, they were super obedient.
Grabbing nipples like this real hard.
Oh, they possessed Helena with the goo too.
No, it only turns guys into zombies. They want the women to just agree to blindly serve the mindless zombies. Also like mindless zombies, but willing ones.
It's consensual.
And Helena's ready to take her place as a basic bitch Stefford trad wife, because decisions are hard.
It's so much easier this way.
Which, now that I think of it, that chick Jessie would have been their perfect recruit.
What am I supposed to say?
But I guess she had to die because she performed that song that embarrassed them. They're ready to let Riley agree to be a good girl like Helena. See, she was the one who saw all the crap from the other girls, so the pledges would know who to kill. So I guess they had to identify them by smell or some shit. But I'll tell you this, I really wouldn't want to be the pledge that had to smell Fran's Diva Cup.
I read somewhere that their periods attract bears.
But Riley doesn't listen to him, so they kill Helena.
Women who are willing to be obedient, like your friend here, will be spared.
It just made me realize that you can be a teen.
But why would they kill Helena if she's the example for what they want women to be?
Oh, Helena was always gonna die. Gelson even had her on the list that Riley found.
So he's a liar.
He probably thought she would eventually rebel because he thought that all of her friends were uppity bitches.
You're just a woman with a small brain, with a brain a third the size of us. It's science.
But Professor Gelson going back on his word sparing women who agree gets Riley to agree, and she bows. And it turns out all of this was just for Brian to be able to gloat. But while he is, she runs and grabs the plastic comb off the tray and attacks him with it, instead of going for the bus that creates the zombies.
Because that is where the power is coming from.
So one of the zombie pledges starts strangling her, and all the brothers turn around because they need plausible deniability for this murder.
See no evil, boys.
But apparently not Helena's.
That doesn't make sense.
So no one's watching when the zombie gets shot with an arrow. See, after Kris picked up the alpha pledges, I guess she recruited the survivors from the other sororities too, and they came to throw down. I mean, they brought tree toppers and ice skates and menorahs, so I guess they got advice from Haddonfield on how to arm themselves.
Swing on Huckleberry here. Say night-night.
But they start fighting, and Riley finally goes for the bust. But first, she has to get through Brian.
I can handle it. What's the worst that can happen?
It looks like she won't be able to do it, but she sees that zombie guy's gonna kill Kris, so she flips Brian over and smacks his head on the altar.
Dude, you won.
She then goes for the bust, but instead of just pushing it off, she goes around, picks it up, then waits to hear out Professor Gelson's reasoning just to say a badass line before breaking it. All while her friend's being strangled by a murderous zombie with super strength.
That's what you want in friends.
And when the bust breaks, the zombie lets go. Then Kris elbows the poor kid that was just released from the mind control, and then she sets the professor on fire while the dickhead from the coffee shop attacks Riley.
You bitches are all the same.
But Landon also came out of the mind control and knocks her out of the way. Then Landon and the girls run out of the room and lock all the guys in there to burn.
Screw those deeks, man. They suck.
What about the guy who was a zombie?
He burns too.
Please tell me this is some kind of sick, tasteless joke.
I mean, we don't know his name, so fuck that guy.
I can't believe you did this to me!
We really want to help.
Now it's time to decide.
Let's see if this works, shall we?
What are you doing?
I'll sign it.
That's it.
Well, at least I got something to look forward to.
Everyone wins.
Perfect gift.
Yes, up in the frat house, click, click, click. What you guys do in here is sick.
I have to go.
And a Merry Christmas to you all.